The Utah Jazz have been quite honestly phenomenal over the most recent stint in which they've won 17 of their last 24 games. Now, they just had a little bit of a rocky patch on the road to start their most recent road trip, but they righted their wrongs against the Washington Wizards and against most recently the Charlotte Hornets, which was a game that I was in attendance for and got to see them play full throttle. Today, we're going to be delving into the dynamic duo that might be one of the best in the league and really has the opportunity to have both of these players make the All-Star game and also serve as cornerstones going forward for this franchise. With that being said, thanks for tuning in this video. It's your boy Raythu, so make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications if you're a fan of the Utah Jazz or if you just like NBA content. With that being said, let's get right into it. Over the most recent 24 games, the dynamic duo of Collin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen has really managed to put on a show. With that being said, Lauri Markkanen only played in 22 of those games, but the two that he didn't play, the Jazz ended up playing against the Pistons and the Trailblazers in December, and they won both of those games pretty handedly. With that being said, Collin Sexton has upped his play since becoming a starter, as he rightfully should have been at the beginning of the season, currently set at 22.2 points per game, 5.4 assists per game, and 2.6 rebounds per game. With Lauri Markkanen, he's averaging 24.2 points, 8.8 rebounds, and up to 2.5 assists over the most recent 22 games, showing a little bit more of that playmaking ability that he has, while also remaining a character that's not going to be very turnover prone. They've been on a tear more recently, with them scoring the most points combined against the Lakers, the Pacers, a thriller against the Thunder, as well as against most recently the Charlotte Hornets. With that being said, against the Hornets, Collin Sexton had an electric first quarter that helped propel them to the highest scoring output in any half in Utah Jazz history. With that being said, they held a massive lead that eventually got to the point where it was 36 points in favor of the Utah Jazz before subbing in the bench and allowing Jordan Clarkson to have a little bit of fun. With that being said, in that game, he played 35 minutes, scored 24 points, had 4 rebounds, a season-high 13 assists, and 2 steals to go along with only 3 turnovers. He was 9 of 19 from the field, which works out to 47.4%, and he was 3 of 7 for 3, which works out to 42.9%. He also managed to go 3 of 5 from the free throw line and was a box score plus minus of a plus 19. With Lauri Markkanen, in 36 minutes, he scored 33 points, had 12 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal to go with only 1 turnover. With that being said, he was 12 of 18 from the field, 7 of 12 from 3, and 2 of 2 from the free throw line for a box score plus minus of a plus 19 as well, both of which were, you guessed it, the highest on both teams. I would say that their most electric games of the season, for Collin Sexton at the very least, probably was the game against the Indiana Pacers. If we're looking at a totality of a game standpoint, he played 24 minutes, had 30 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and only 1 turnover, scoring 11 out of 17 baskets, 4 of 5 from 3, and 4 of 4 from the free throw line to give him a box score plus minus of a plus 14. Lauri Markkanen in that same game played 28 minutes, scored 32 points, had 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and only 1 turnover. He was 10 of 15 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, and 10 of 10 from the free throw line for a box score plus minus of a plus 25. This team has effectively turned that corner that we needed them to show that they were going to have a competitive outlook. At the beginning of the season, I pegged them to be the 6th seed overall, and those first 15 to 19 games really started to make me look like I didn't know anything about basketball. Luckily, they turned the corner, starting with Collin Sexton being initiated as a starter after Jordan Clarkson went down with injury, and with Chris Dunn being installed as a starting point guard over Keontae George. Those two things were very key in their ability to increase their level of playmaking and increase their offensive efficiency to provide a consistent second scoring punch and overall playmaking table setter and point of attack defender to place alongside Lauri Markkanen, who has been the most consistent piece and, to his credit, was the lone all-star of this roster last season. This season, in a stacked Western Conference, things are very difficult to see if Lauri or Collin Sexton will make the All-Star game. With that being said, I believe that this dynamic duo has the ability to push the Utah Jazz into playoff level basketball. They've been playing it as of late, and I expect them to continue to. Now, the most important thing is going to be, can they win on the road, because they're notoriously known for being poor on the road. Case in point, they ended up blasting one against the New Orleans Pelicans in tremendously terrible fashion, losing by basically 30 points. Against the Rockets, that was a game that they really needed to win, but they actually dropped it in overtime by 1 point. It wasn't the worst game they played of basketball, and effectively, they've been scoring the rock very well. The issue has been on the defensive side of things at certain points in time, and honestly, it showed a little bit against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, we know that Collin Sexton is not the most ideal lengthwise for this team, and they've said that they would be willing to shop him in exchange for a lengthier bucket getter that can play a little bit more defense and just have more upside on that side of the ball. But that said, Collin Sexton brings that level of dog mentality that this team just doesn't have. Every team likes to have a Russell Westbrook or a Patrick Beverley or somebody with that stout demeanor where they're going to energize their guys. They're happy for whoever. They're willing to make whatever sacrifices it takes to allow the team to win. And they just want to see their guys play ball. Collin Sexton is effectively that guy for the Utah Jazz. And he, even when he was on the bench at the beginning of the season, still congratulated Jordan Clarkson despite his poor performances and still pushed the other guys to do their best. With that being said, with him now initiated as a starter, we're truly seeing the basketball that he is capable of producing. Alongside Lauri Markkanen, who's still been the picture of consistency all season long, and you finally have a tandem that can work. Now, at halftime, after the Utah Jazz jumped out to a lead against the Charlotte Hornets, admittedly, the Hornets were without LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward, but regardless, I don't think that neither of them would have made a very much different defensive impact. With that being said, the Jazz were up 82-47 at halftime, and that was a really key step in the right direction in my eyes. Because if you are a playoff tier team, you have to beat up against the teams in the bottom of the league. You cannot allow yourself to be stuck in games with them. Now, when they put the bench in, the bench kind of squandered the lead and put together a third quarter that involved a 23-41 scoring margin, which effectively made the game more of a game. And the credit to the Charlotte Hornets fans, they stayed in the stadium the entire game and watched their team play all the way through. With that being said, Collin Sexton got back right in the fourth quarter. Jordan Clarkson hit a couple timely shots, and Lauri Markkanen was all over the place, making sure things got handedly done. I would like to see more victories like this, but I know it is not exactly feasible considering the type of team that the Charlotte Hornets tend to be, and the fact that most other teams in the NBA are a lot more organized and well-placed. With that being said, it would not be right to talk about these two without the other supporting cast members, the likes of John Collins, who has greatly improved on defense and isn't as much of a liability as he was before, though his three-point shot has not been going down recently as he's shooting 2 of 20 over this past 6 games. That said, his overall efficiency from the field has been relatively high, and he's been doing enough on defense to make himself very playable. You have Simone Fontecchio, who's also been a very big catalyst, who doesn't always have to score the ball to be effective. He's known for getting rebounds. He's known for crashing the glass. He's known for getting assists, steals, and even in some cases getting a block or two in a game, managing to stay on the court because of his extra effort and intensity. But this one's about Collin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen, so a little bit more on them. Looking at things from a season totality standpoint, since we did a little bit more of a minute look at how they played, Lauri Markkanen this season has played in 37 games out of the 47 that the team has had. With that being said, he's averaging 32.6 minutes, scoring 24 points per game, having 8.8 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 0.6 blocks, and 0.9 steals to go along with only 1.2 turnovers per game. Now, he also manages to shoot 49.8% from the field and 40.2% from 3 on 8.1 attempts per game, finishing things off with 87.3% shooting from the free throw line on roughly 5.3 attempts. Now, that said, Collin Sexton has played in all 47 games for the Utah Jazz this season, proving himself to be quite the Iron Man, considering he came back from a significant injury the previous year and really hadn't been playing out to standard as most people had hoped he would have. With that being said, he started in the most recent 24 games for this team, and overall across the season averages 24.3 minutes, scores 17.5 points, 2.7 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 0.2 blocks, 0.7 steals, and only 1.8 turnovers per game. Now, he shoots 48.9% from the field and 38.2% from the three-point line on 4 attempts, finishing things off with 87.9% from the free throw line with 4.6 attempts per game. Lauri Markkanen has played in 19 of the Jazz's wins this season. With that being said, he's averaged 31.7 minutes in that time, shooting 54% from the field and 45.2% from the three-point line on 8.3 attempts. He's also shooting 90.5% from the free throw line on 5.5 attempts. Overall, he averages 25.8 points, 9.4 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 1 steal, 0.6 blocks, and only 1.2 turnovers in those matches. Similarly, in wins, Collin Sexton has played in all 24. With that being said, he averages 25.5 minutes, shooting 52.2% from the field, 40.6% from 3 on 4.2 attempts, and 91.5% from the free throw line on 4.9 attempts. Now, in totality, he averages 19.8 points, 2.6 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 0.9 steals, 0.1 blocks, and only 1.9 turnovers per game. Together in wins averaging roughly 46 points, which honestly is dynamic to get out of two players on your team, especially at the top half, allowing a lot of the other players on the team to have off nights or to not quite be themselves and still be able to pour in enough to help the team get the W. With that being said, we can't just look at the wins, we also have to pay attention to the losses. So in those games, Lauri Markkanen has played in 18. With that being said, he's averaged 33.6 minutes per game, shooting 45.5% from the field, 34.7% from the three-point line on 8 attempts, and 83.7% from the free throw line on 5.1 attempts. In totality, he averages 22.2 points, 8.1 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 0.8 steals, and 0.6 blocks to go along with 1.3 turnovers per game, effectively meaning that in losses, all of his numbers see a quite steep decline, particularly from shooting splits. Collin Sexton has seen a similar trend himself as he played in all 23 of the team's losses, averaging 22.9 minutes, shooting 44.9% from the field, 35.3% from the three-point line on 3.7 attempts, and 83.7% from the free throw line on 4.3 attempts. In totality, he averaged 15.1 points, 2.7 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 0.6 steals, and 0.2 blocks to go along with 1.7 turnovers. Now, it's important to remember that Collin Sexton also only actually started in 7 of the Jazz's losses. The other 16 come in games where he started at the beginning of the season coming off of the bench with Jordan Clarkson as a starter. Now, those backcourts back in that day had Talen Horton-Tucker and Jordan Clarkson, Keontae George and Jordan Clarkson, both which did not end up playing out well. Since they've had Chris Dunn installed alongside Collin Sexton, things have become progressively better, and honestly, they're playing their best brand of basketball to date, and likely I see no reason for a steep decline going forward. With that being said, instead of dragging this video out and making it an elongated episode, more so podcast style, it made more sense to go ahead and split this into 2 parts. With that being said, if you like the content so far, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so that you can get the drop for that part 2. It's coming within the next couple days. Let me know what you think about the dynamic duo of Collin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen so far with the numbers that we've gone over, and let me know if you think they can catapult this team into making the playoffs this year. And let me know if you think that they should also decide to keep this team together as is, or if you think a trade should be made. Thanks for tuning in this video. It's your boy Ray Thoops. Make sure to like that video, smash that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and become a member of the channel to catch the videos faster than anybody else. Shout out my boy Sachi for editing this one, and as always, good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you're on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace.